The way it works is like this. On the last day of the month, we agree to where he is at on the chart, and then calculate interest at our bank rate for a savings account, and add it in rounded up points to his chart for the month. So, for example, at position 2 on his 26 chart, he would get 26 times 20 plus 4, multiplied by our banking interest rate and divided by 12. That amount is added in points to his chart, and on we go. You're welcome to email me if that seems too complicated. It's actually simple if you do it step by step on paper. We're leaving out tax implications for the financially focused of you out there. I have explained tax to him, and that there is a portion of what we earn that does not belong only to ourselves, but he is also learning about tax deductions and the value of owning his own business on the side of or instead of employment, versus working as an employee throughout his earning career. Of course, there is also the tithing portion that does not belong to us either, as I'm teaching and encouraging him. He has already developed a large sense of that from the gift giveaway discipline. But I do think it's important for him to be aware that 90% of what we earn is ours, and the rest belongs to the more needing people in our families and communities, both close by and internationally. So it's not actually ours, it just happens to flow through our accounts into their hands. And the younger we build a comfortable relationship with that idea, the easier the process, if it feels like a strain. Obviously, this is relevant where there is actually residual monthly money to tithe. Until then, we know we are part of the recipients of that generosity and live with the intent that when that changes, we will share it with those more needy. I have also been there, and because of that, he understands that receiving when you need to is part of humanity's circle and does not take from your value as a person in the world. Valuable lessons indeed, I think. I've also pursued board games that help to educate him about finance. Playing Monopoly has taught him the value of property investments, how to diversify, the advantages of developing properties and the disadvantages, the danger of overcapitalizing and not having enough cash flow to build, repair, pay tax, amenities and rent elsewhere, and he often wins on my bankruptcy and will gently point out that I went overboard that game and overcapitalized and didn't keep enough on hand to pay him should I use his houses or hotels. He'll almost be incredulous. I don't understand why you teach me such good things and then don't do them in the game. They do work, you know. I love it when he chastises me like that, and then I know, yay, he's getting it. We've also played a game for a while now that is particularly focused on money skills, understanding how personal development increases your passive income, the value of property and reducing your bonds to increase your passive income, the value of creating franchise or taking advantage of network marketing business opportunities. It has also taught him that money is not nearly as beneficial in a bank account compared to reducing bonds or debt, and showed him how you can prove that with simple calculations. Of course I could teach him all of this, but it is far more tangible for him to see it on a balance sheet in this game and watch his passive income go up and down with the choices he makes. Watching the lights in his eyes switch on as he gets concepts and can explain them that most adults battle with today is priceless. I encourage you to find games like these and invest in them with friends and share them if you have to, and share this education with your children. It's probably some of the most significant insights to living in the real world we can offer our children, because they will not escape having to work for or with money in their lives. If I had the education in this regard when I was growing up, my financial position today would be a different playground, no question. I'm stacking the odds in his favor. What he'll do with the information remains to be seen, but I think it is so essential that we use our limited opportunities with our children to give them education we may not have mastered yet ourselves, but are learning about. The first time I heard the concept of passive income, I was in my late 20s. It took me years to truly appreciate the value of earning without having to show up at work anymore, and now I pursue opportunities to do so. It also took me a while to become the kind of person who could pursue more deliberate passive income projects. Some of them truly rely on your developed sense of self, for example, business, property, legal network marketing businesses, and the like. I have delved into many aspects of these options and more. I have found that directly proportional to how much you're willing to develop your sense of self as a person and become impervious to the criticisms and insecurities of others will be the success you can achieve outside of the work for a boss idealism most of us have been educated with. Books that have helped me expand my thinking and get my head around the passive income education and opportunities to pursue include The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cashflow Quadrant and the Business School, as well as The Magic of Thinking Big by David J. Schwartz, Ph.D. Those books are a really good beginning and readily available in stores or through internet purchases. Also, libraries will either have them or be able to request them for you. I have read well over 50 books in the area of personal and leadership development that include financial development and opportunities to grow ourselves in all aspects of our lives, including health-wise. I encourage my son with the education I glean from others and how it impacts my life, my thinking and being, and am always willing to admit I have learned something new, and therefore the current way of doing this or that must now be changed to improve our outcomes. I believe I'm also teaching him that being stuck in who we are or what we do is not the most serving way to be to ensure our best outcomes can be realized in life, and it's a joy watching him embrace that. When we enjoy the privilege of time to chill out together, and I am reading a book that is written in a child-friendly tone, I will often read to him from it for a few pages, and we'll chat about what he got out of that. I have found that has so much value for him. If building a library is not a financial option for you, then perhaps use the local library or the internet. My goodness, that is a fantastic resource tool, used correctly, of course, to find information about almost anything. Now, another strategy I've used is to pay him to adopt new habits that I felt would really serve him, or to work on habits that are good for him that he struggles to focus on, like teeth brushing, showering, eating healthier options of rice, for example. And it worked like this. We set a target date to get something right. Always a minimum of 21 days, because I've learned that psychologically it's been proved that it takes about 21 days to create new habits or break the patterns of bad old ones. Okay, so always 21 days plus, and then off we'd go, and I would help him to achieve those goals by reminding him gently or asking, "Have you done this yet?" Now here's the crunch. He got paid at the end of it, but if he reneged on that new habit, that's okay, it's his choice, but he had to pay me back every cent he earned by doing the work it took to create that new habit in the first place. Of course, he got a reminder first of what he could potentially lose if he lost focus. I am on his side, remember. This seemed to work fantastically well initially, and I used it 3 times. But although brown basmati rice is now the rice of preference if we have rice, it fell flat in the teeth brushing, showering department, and what I realized is that we should not have a reward system for behaviors that have to get done anyway. For example, teeth brushing. If we do that, we run the risk of teaching our children to expect reward for mundane, everyday tasks, and they become more and more difficult to encourage or motivate to do so without reward. So much of what we do just has to be done. We have to teach our children they need to take responsibility for themselves, and there are consequences when they don't. For example, the consequence of not brushing our teeth regularly is cavities causing pain and costing money, which we pay when they're young to repair. It's our responsibility to teach them the skills they need to be able to care for themselves, and then we can encourage them to follow through with these behaviors, trust them to do so, and acknowledge them when they do. Having said that, we can use mundane behaviors like that to fill a chart of accomplishment like we discussed above when children are very young. But as they grow, the behaviors that fill a space on a strategy chart should be beyond what they would usually have to do anyway. For example, washing dishes without complaining, or helping around the house with chores and responsibilities, washing cars, washing the dog. You get the picture, right? When they are older, they can use those strategy charts for any kind of goal and manage their behaviors and necessary deliberate actions themselves, having developed self-mastery in many areas. They will be able to carry them over to the areas they require to reach their goals. and we will have played a role in empowering them to do so, not disempowering them to rely on someone else to nag them to do what it takes to move forward in life. Tantrums were never really a problem for us. The terrible twos held 3 tantrums. Perhaps it was because my son could articulate the things he wanted. He was speaking in sentences before he was 2. Or perhaps it's how I handled them when they arrived that shut them down. I don't know. A combo, perhaps? I'd like to think so. The first tantrum happened when he was 2 and a bit, and we were out for a lunch one Saturday. He was pushing himself around on a toy motorbike, whizzing up and down the passage when I called him for lunch to join us at the table, and he began screaming hysterically. I excused myself and picked him up and went into one of their bedrooms with him and his pram. I closed the door, strapped him into the pram, and sat a short way in front of him on the edge of a bed. He screamed red in the face, sweating and tears flowing freely. I sat in front of him and I calmly said, "My boy, I have no idea why you're upset. Tell me when you're ready. I'll wait." And I just watched him. It was fascinating, really. You should try it. His face turned such a red I thought it would burst. He screamed with such capacity I was proud, and I just watched, patiently and lovingly. And he stopped after about 4 or 5 minutes. I thought he'd collapse, to be honest. It seemed like quite a workout. But he heaved and said, "I want to ride my motorbike." And I smiled and asked, "Is that all? You want to ride your motorbike and you don't want to come for lunch now?" More heaving. "Yes." I said, "Okay, my darling, go ride your motorbike and come and eat when you're finished." He joined us at the table and ate heartily, not even 10 minutes afterwards, and it never happened again. I mentioned in an earlier chat that he's the king of just one more this or that, so I understood he needs a little more finish-up warning so he doesn't feel cut short. I gave it to him deliberately from then onwards. "We're going to eat in 5 minutes, my boy. Finish up playing for now, okay?" And whenever he felt he needed wee extra, he would say so. No more tantrums there. Other strategies to empower healthy choices for him are to give him 2 options. "We're leaving soon, my boy. Would you rather go in 5 minutes or 10 minutes? What would you like to eat for dinner, eggs or tuna?" Generally, I found this to be a great strategy that I gleaned off a good friend. And of course, it has its spin-offs, like when he used to throw in what's behind door number 3 and be adamant there must be that 3rd option too. Sometimes I would acquiesce and sometimes I would have to make the choice for him. Generally, though, he chose and felt empowered and followed through like a little gentleman, and it was creative and empowering for him, which I loved. We started that at 1 year young, but back then it was just now or just now. You want to pick up your toys alone or with my help? The next tantrum he threw when I wanted to put him to bed one night. He was about 2.5, and he decided against it and launched a screaming, hitting, kicking protest. I said, "Stop it, my boy, or I'll have to stop you." Needless to say, it didn't go anywhere near reasonable and stopping, and so I warned him, "If you don't stop, I'm going to put you into a very cold shower. This is your last warning." You think he stopped? Wouldn't you have stopped? I would have. Anyway, he didn't, so I picked his little writhing body up and walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower and held him under it. He screamed, turn off, I stop. And I did, and he did, for about 5 seconds, then looked at me and launched into screaming louder. No problem for me. I turned the shower back on and under he went. I said, "I'll turn it off, and then it must be finished. The shower and your screaming. Take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. I turned it off, and he stopped and looked at me, challengingly. And then I wrapped him in a towel, gave him a huge hug, and put him to bed. If he ever behaved in a way I felt was bordering on anything like the tantrum he threw, I would casually ask if he felt he needed a cold shower, and that would nip it in the bud right there. That has never happened again.